Okay, welcome to Crampton's Gap. It's the southernmost gap of the three battles that were fought here, September 14, 1862. This is the estate of George Alfred Townsend, whose pen name was Gass. He's going to be the author of Rustics in Rebellion, which was a great book about the peninsula. And after the war, he's going to write Katie of Catoctin, a novel that was described as being bad. I haven't read it. I try to avoid novels, especially Civil War novels. But this is his estate. Years ago, they said there were trenches out here dug by the Confederates. Not so. The Confederates had an engineer corps but had no tools. And with this ground, it's hard to dig trenches. That's actually part of it. That's his mausoleum back in there. The main hall, we'll see it when we get down across here, what's left of it. A lot of it was destroyed by a fire. And then these are guest houses back in here, which are going to house the museum that they're going to be putting together in there for the anniversary. What we're going to be looking at is one of the smallest battlefields in the United States. This battlefield is really easy to understand because it is so small. And the only danger is trying to get across the road down here where the crosswalk is, because people don't like stopping at the top of it. So they put the crosswalk right where it crests, and you're worth about 50 points apiece, maybe. But this is going to be the site of the southernmost action on South Mountain. People have argued that it wasn't part of South Mountain battlefield because Lamb's Knoll butts out and blocks the view. Well, I'd like anyone around here to stand at the different gaps and see how far you can't see. That's still part of South Mountain. And this will be the scene of a very lopsided battle between the entire 6th Corps and basically one or two brigades of Confederate infantry and 2 guns that could actually operate up here. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll let you know if I don't know the answers, and I'll try not to make any up on the way, unless it gets in the way of a good narrative. But seriously, we're going to see one of the smallest battlefields around, and one of the best preserved. The fields at South Mountain have changed very little because they've been in private hands for so long. You know, Gasland is a Maryland state park. It is not federal, but we're allowed to give tours on it. And it's because, again, we don't get very much traffic in these areas. And with that, we're going to go down to the road and I'll give you a breakdown of what's going on, and we'll talk about the battle from there. So, come on, jobbers. Okay, if you want to get a picture of the arch, that's the best location to shoot it from, right here. Yeah, a lot of people now use parks for recreational. They're not so much here for the battlefield. It's a major problem they have that in some parks they have to tell you no frisbee throwing, no football, no baseball. You know, because a lot of people, they don't have too much of that in Antietam, but other parks, wow. Okay, feel about ready. All right, the reason I stopped here, you get a good view of the War Correspondents Arch. George Alfred Townsend, being a war correspondent, wanted to put something up to commemorate the war correspondents from both sides. This is the only monument to war correspondents that I know of in the United States, and there are plaques on the end that list the artists and the correspondents that worked the field. Now, he chose this spot primarily because it's a monument on right at the edge of his estate. But what we're going to be looking at here is, again, a small battlefield. The Confederate line will form a V right here at this apex in the road and go down both flanks to the right and left. This is going to be a very brief action. The hardest part of the action is getting up the mountainside for the Union troops because it's about a 45-degree slope. We're going to be crossing over. I'm going to show you the terrain, talk about the people that lived here a bit, and then basically explain why this gap had to be taken. And again, it's the gateway to Harper's Ferry, just over the mountain here into Pleasant Valley Road on the Washington County side. Okay, any questions? If not, we'll head across. I dated that about a week ago. Yeah, and I do have off if the gnats really get bad. Spray it on your hat brim. They usually don't get behind your glasses. They're really annoying back there. Okay. A little bit of an explanation of where we are. This will be where the battle ends. It's going to start in the valley down here. And a little bit about the ground. This wasn't heavily forested in this area. The locals were harvesting wood. You could see all the way down to the base of the mountain. There wasn't any underbrush in there. The trees were not that thick. And again, this was open field in here. A lot of it. The Germans that lived in here bought land that nobody else wanted because it had one price. It was cheap. And then they actually cut terraces into the hillside that I'll be showing you to grow their crops on. It was said that if you gave a German a flat rock and a handful of corn, he'd have a crop on it. And that's what they did around here. Now your Confederate line, the rear line, is right here. This is the center of Cobb's brigade. The left goes for about 600 feet down the road here. This road was here. This is part of the Arnoldstown Road. And the right went down to about where the bend is in the fence down on the guardrail down there. It was not a large front. All this out in between was open ground. And the Union 6th Corps was expected to funnel up through that. Guarding the flank way down at the bottom of the mountain is, I think, the 2nd or 12th Virginia Cavalry, maybe 50 men. And when the Vermont Brigade attacks them, they don't stay long because it was slightly suicidal. About a mile and a half down that way on the far end is going to be another Virginia Cavalry Regiment, equally small, and part of a Georgia regiment. You got to understand that when the Yankees attacked this, they're on a front a mile long. There's no Confederate line here that long. At the base of the mountain, it'll be one man every 6 feet. So it's not a big action. There will be a bayonet attack at the base of the mountain. But the Confederates, you know, they're just looking at Yankees pop up out of the ground, and it's like, you gotta be kidding. Out in the road behind you will be 2 guns, mountain howitzers of the troop artillery, one of which is named the Jenny. It's going to dismount itself while firing. And every Yankee that went through the gap touched it and claimed that he captured it. But that's going to be toward dusk, about 6:30. Actually, this side of the mountain, 4:45. So we're going to walk over here and take a look down into the valley and give you an idea of what the ground is like. Okay, explain the ground in here. These are part of the surviving terraces. All this was open. All of it. No brush, no anything. And the bulk of the 6th Corps is going to funnel up through the middle of this. They're going to start the attack at 4:30 in the afternoon. And it was part of McClellan's idea. McClellan is going to arrive on the field about 5 miles north of here around 2 o'clock. He got caught in his own traffic jam. he's going to order a coordinated assault at 4:30 at all 3 gaps. No one had ever done that before. And it's done without complete knowledge of the ground, which is not unusual for McClellan anyway. The 6th Corps will arrive here at noon at the base of the mountain. They'll spend the afternoon looting the houses in Burkittsville, particularly of anything edible. And then at 4:30, they're going to attack Parham's Brigade, which is at the bottom of the mountain. Now,
how far distance are we talking about?
It's about a half a mile to 3/4 down to the base of the mountain. This is going to be a little hard to see, but the 6th Corps was spread out, not spread out, but in tight formations on a mile front. They'd be looking up the hill from at the base of the mountain, in the original road that's down there, the Mountain Church Road. Okay, you're going to have Parham's Brigade, maybe 350.
Hey, John. Excuse me.
Spread out.
Thanks.
Spread out about 1 man every 6 feet. And they're going to get hit with a solid line. Now when we go down there, rather than get all in a narration, it's going to be hard to understand, we're going to turn left on the Mountain Church Road. Where they have woods at the corner, that was all open. As you go further down the road, you'll see a vineyard. And you'll see horizon and then just a drop. That's what the open fields look like. And the Yankees are in a creek bottom down there, out of sight. And when they pop up, it's like, my word, where did they come from? No Union artillery involved in this. They couldn't get the elevation on the hillside. The Confederate artillery that's going to be up here in the afternoon will be firing canister through here and down the road, which makes their own men a little bit nervous. It's not a long action. It's a run over. Now, like the bulk of the 6th Corps will come up through here. One regiment, the 96th Pennsylvania, will come in down on the right flank, Union right flank, which I'll show you when we walk down there a little bit, and up onto the mountainside behind the 15th North Carolina and a Georgia regiment, and they're going to get them from behind. Over here on the left, the Vermont Brigade breaks the flank. The New Jersey Brigade comes up this way and gets their flank, and it's over in a matter of minutes. Colonel Lamar of the 8th Georgia will get killed here. He's actually a volunteer aide of some sort. He was recovering from a wound at Golding's Farm on June 27th, where he was hit in the groin with a grape shot from a naval gun that McClellan had dragged onto the field. He recovered that, but he didn't get over the head wound here from the 6th Corps. So this will be, again, a brief fight. It's not a defensible position. When Cobb comes up, he'll come up the very road we came up from, coming up from Harper's Ferry, and he'll deploy up in here just as the Federals start coming up the mountain. And the best time to see this is in the winter when the leaves are down. You can actually see all the way to the base of the mountain. And the farms down there on the Mountain Church Road haven't changed very much at all. And it's very impressive to see. And I wouldn't want to have been here. Okay, any questions? Because what we're going to do is we're going to walk a brief distance down the road here to show you the flank.
These guys came, were they supposed to come today?
No. When the Confederates retreat from the base of the mountain, they're grabbing tree branches and tree roots to get up the mountainside, and they're bugging out. And it's because they're not concentrated. Parham will end up at Antietam with less than 300 men, and by the end of the day he'll have 6 he can find in the whole brigade. Okay, I mean, this is not a good campaign for them. And thank goodness, I don't think they're facing, yeah, they did go into the cornfield at Antietam, but they're, a corps against a brigade is not fair. Okay, we'd have to distribute men, of course, to make it better.
Especially if we're going to 300, we'll reenact Lamar's work.
Yeah.
Now, where's McLaws at this time?
McClaws,
Is he
as far as where a general is located, I wish I could tell you.
I mean his brigade, his division.
He's actually down, his men are down at Brownsville at a place called Solomon's Gap.
And they're moving toward Harper's Ferry?
Well, no, they're actually holding the Confederate flank, and they'll get cut off. There's some fighting on the mountainside. There's an artillery section up there that gets driven off. But it's not, I don't think it's still accessible to that place at the gap, the other gap down here. And they get cut off by the Vermont Brigade going in between them and this line here. So it's again, this is a walkover, sort of.
In
Coming
terms of
uphill,
total
it wasn't.
numbers, each side, Confederates were how many, did you say?
Up here there'll be about 1,200 Confederates, okay? Down there, 300 Masonic. Okay, take you down to the Confederate left here. You want some off?
Yeah, I'll take some of that.
Okay.
It'll go away.
In
I could
World
tell
War
I was
I,
the only one that didn't
they
have
had
it.
a blue powder they issued, a powder that came in a blue box that was advertised good for lice. And the men wrote on the box, yes, they love it. That might keep them out of your face.
Thank you.
You don't smell good, but that's irrelevant. Okay.
What'd you kill it with?
All right, now, this is about the left of the Confederate line in here, 15th North Carolina. We're looking this way. All of that down in there was open. There's a stone wall across the base here that's all under rubbish now. But you can see this would be a good place for anyone funneling up through the valley. They're going to get caught in a crossfire. The problem is that the flank is open. What happens is right about where the bend is down there in the road, the 95th Pennsylvania, will come up unnoticed and get on the hillside, hear the rep shooting down here, and come down and catch them from behind. And at the same time that the New Jersey troops come up on the other side. There'll be about 800 casualties here. One Medal of Honor recipient, he fell in the 16th New York, I think his name was Allen. He'll capture a flag that's sticking in the wall. I believe it belonged to the 16th Georgia. And it's over. What ends it is dusk. 5:45 was dark. The problem is by the time they get up here, the sun's starting to go over the other side, and the Union troops did not go over that ridge a whole lot further because they had no idea where they were going. And this is not ground that you walk on in the dark, okay, unless you got your own first aid kit and several people to carry you out. So this is the actual battlefield. And again, if you come here in the fall, if you stand here, you can see the farm down in the valley that was the Union right, clearly visible. And you get a really good idea of what the men could see. But this here, again, has been all grown up, and they're just now getting to the place where they're trying to restore it. With all the stone walls, though, it's best to clear them in the winter, it's best to walk them in the winter. Okay, because they're occupied. That and Yellow Jacket. So I'm not a nature person when it comes to things like that. I'm a runner. So any questions?
Were the walls there during the
walls
battle?
are in their approximate location.
And they were used as
the original
breastworks,
wall
I
is still at the base of the mountain down there.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing they had around here was rocks and clay and more rocks. So anytime they went out in the field, they always carried a horse-drawn sled to get the rocks out. That went into the walls. And they're scenic. People love walls like that. So they kept a lot of them.
So the wall's right down at the bottom of this hill, right?
Right at the bottom.
The original wall.
Yes, as far as I know from the map. The fields are triangular, coming up from the bottom with 3 terraces. And that's the bottom one down there at the 3rd terrace. Then all this in here would be fairly well open because of logging. Now, I wouldn't want to have been one of the Germans getting the logs off the hillside, but like I said, if it was cheap, they did it. And this again was much more open. A lot like the woods back there. Open. All right, any further questions? Because from here, we're going to go down to the Mountain Church Road at the bottom of the hill over on this side. Going to make a left. And as we go through, everything to your right is going to be Federal at 4:30, coming across the field. You're going to be behind the Confederate line. One man, you're a very lonesome place to be because they didn't know what was up here.
What was the weather like this day?
About 76 and buggy.
Kind of like today?
High humidity, 30 degrees to 40 degrees at night, which meant that with the blanket rolls at the bottom of the mountain, the Union Army got really cold, especially from the sweat. What they do remember, though, this is the first time they ever won a battle and didn't retreat. Did not retreat. That's one thing the Union soldiers universally remember about this place. And that is, we didn't back up. We actually held the ground. Because they did that and Lee had to retreat, he decides to fight at Antietam. Because when he lost before, during the 7 days peninsula, he didn't retreat. McClellan would. So this is a first for Lee. It's going to cost him 38% of his men at Antietam. So this is a deciding factor. Okay, from there, we're going to trundle uphill to the cars, take the scenic route over on original roads, all the way to Fox's Gap. And again, when we're on the Mountain Church Road, you are going to be looking at fields pretty much like they were, except no woods on the right side.
No woods. The boundaries. Well, good. Well, they have the field. I'm convinced they want to guide out of Antietam there. John Priest. That depends. If I'm
The back side of the monument.
the first question is, what did I do?
Paul,
Yeah.
and the Black Cemetery here. 10th Georgia was down here. But that was on the tour of the church down. Most of those are World War I veterans. See, we're way beyond the Confederate right flank now.
So it basically just followed the road for a couple hundred yards.
Yeah, that was basically they were in the road behind the fence. Inverted V. Now, where you see that truck, we're going to go left. That's Mountain Church Road.
Oh, I'd love to do Spooks Hill. Show these guys Spooks Hill. Go left here.
Yeah. What was that movie they did about the ghost?
The Blair Witch Project.
Blair, yeah, ridiculous. All this was on the right was open field. That's where the New Jersey Brigade comes in. Well, we're going behind the right of the Arms Brigade at the bottom of the mountain. The stone houses were here. Now, if you look to your right, you're going to get a view. Right on the other side of that ridge is where the creek bottom is. And you get an idea, oh, they got a new home out there. Great. Behind that hill where the trees are is a brick kiln. Where the 96 Pennsylvania is left their knapsack. Now we're beyond the Confederate line. We just passed our left flank. The 95th or 96th, again I get them too confused. They go in through the bottom land here and up the mountainside to our left, which again was open woods. watershed for you. That's Catoctin Mountain
Which one?
on the right. On the other side of that is Braddock Mountain and then Frederick. Go through the crossroads and we're going to come to a pretty sharp bend in the road. We're going to go to the right. That'll be what they call Marker Road. Just over this ridge. Of course, saying that around here is like, yeah, what ridge? Oh, the next one. This is all Mountain Church Road here. Okay, you got a right hand. The bend in the road is just over this ridge. See where that arrow is? You're going to follow that down there.
Down there. Okay.
Yep, we're going to follow it around to the right. And we're going to stop up at the Little B Methodist Church up here on the right. We've got to travel a little ways to get to it, but we will stop there because there's a parking area we can pull into. See where the bend's down there? That's where we're going right. Just follow it around to the right. Yep. There'll be a little brown building on the left as we go past, just before this bend. That's Quebec Schoolhouse. Right there on the left, that garage. Okay. And the little church on the right, we're going to pull over in there briefly. We were going to pull in their lot and didn't realize. So I don't think they would take kindly to us. The bad thing is when we go to get out of here, I'm going to have to, yeah, we're going to have to do it, back it up almost, unless, yeah, there's no place to turn away. I don't want to go through this field. Okay, the reason I stopped here is, and also about the importance of this church. Now, there was an older church here, and this is where John Brown is going to set up to stage his raid on Harper's Ferry, out of this church area. 1859, October. This is where he'll assemble for the raid. Also, we just turned off the Mountain Church Road back there. What happens on the 13th, Robert E. Lee's supply train is coming up this road. It was a one-lane dirt track heading toward the mountain. On his heels is Pleasanton's Cavalry Brigade, 3rd Indiana, 8th Illinois, and I think a New York regiment. And they're cautiously following them. Well, on the Mountain Church Road that runs along back in there, Jeb Stuart is heading south with his cavalry to get to Harper's Ferry. He always liked to be in on celebrations. And he's only left like the 5th Virginia, top of the mountain with Pelham's section of artillery, maybe 150 men, to hold a gap that he hasn't even told the infantry exists. Garland's another 2 miles north of that. He doesn't even know the gap is there. But Stuart wants to get to Harper's Ferry to play Stuart, to be there right when the glory is there. He always had a latent interest in being an infantry officer ever since the Battle of Drainesville in 1861, where he accidentally ordered the infantry to fire into their own men. I'm not a fan of Stuart. But anyway, they're going to come up here, and right where the road bends, to go up to the Mountain Church Road, there's a ravine on this side. Union cavalry will get into that ravine and run into Cobb's Legion. And there'll be a cavalry fight in that ravine behind that the little brown building off to the left in a yard, Quebec Schoolhouse. There'll be sabers and carbines and about 29 casualties, which is heavy for cavalry. The Union cavalry will then U-turn and go back to here heading toward Middletown to Marker Road. Now, when we get down the Marker Road, we're going to come to a T and make a left. There's a stone house on the right. That's the Widow Kugel. That's where future President Rutherford B. Hayes ends up with a shattered left forearm after he walked off of Fox's Gap about 1.5 miles further west. Got to give him credit. And that'll also be the 9th Corps route that we'll be turning on. The 9th Corps is going to try to flank the Confederate Army. They were heading down the National Pike, which is about 4 miles that way to the north. Ran into a Colonel Moore of the 11th Ohio who got captured in a street fight in Frederick. He says, "Don't go that way, there's Rebs." And then he shut up, "Oh, I've broken my parole." So the 9th Corps is going to come out of Middletown and go around, and we'll be on the flank march going up on original roads to the battlefield at Fox's Gap, which is a small battlefield, but it's the longest fight for the entire action. It's going to go from 9:30 in the morning until 10 at night. So it's a long action, and it's where you lose 2 generals, and one of them from friendly fire.
Are we going to be stopping at the house where
We
Hayes
can't.
ended
It's not a good intersection to stop at. We'll be going left.
up? We can point it out at least.
Yeah, it'll be on. You can't miss it. It's a big stone house on the corner.
Okay.
We'll be going left. The house is on the right. Okay. So we're going to have to get a road guard out here so you can back out.
It's going to be you, I think. John can't do it.
What?
Be the road guard.
Yeah, I'm going to be road guard.
Yeah.
I presume you're going to back out from this lane. Everyone's still behind you pretty good?
Yeah.
So there's a house where Rutherford B. Hayes went with his
Yeah, and then he's
wounded
taken
arm.
by ambulance into Middletown.
Okay. That's the house. That's a nice big house.
Now, is everyone behind you yet? Any traffic you don't recognize behind you?
No, we got them all.
Okay, go left. You don't
You
want to
said
go too fast on this road. You might irritate the locals, but that's okay, because we're going to be making another sharp left once we go. We're going to pass through a farmyard that has a dairy on one side, farm on the other, and then come to an intersection. There'll be a sharp left, and that'll be the Reno Monument Road, the old Sharpsburg Pike. Old Sharpsburg Road, excuse me.
So the 9th Corps took this road we're on
This
now?
is the one they take. With 1 lane dirt. Now, alternate 40 and Hagerstown Pike, Boonesboro Pike, they were paved. All major roads in Maryland were paved with crushed limestone.
Back then, you're saying?
Yeah. No tar on it though. Okay, once we get around this bend, we'll come up on a rise of ground and there'll be a left. And it's a pretty sharp left. I had a young bus driver take it on 2 wheels one time because he wasn't listening and he didn't slow down. See where the stop sign is? Make a left right there. That ridge out to your right is the Union, this high ridge, Union artillery position.
Right up here.
20 pounders. Yeah, that was the wide part of the road. most of the houses on the left were here. That was a schoolhouse up on the left.
So that was there.
Mm-hmm.
Think this one was up here too?
Yeah, no, the road's actually where that sign is going up the hill on our right, but this is the modern, little bit of a bypass. Yeah, most of these were here.
And house
the
was
field
there.
just up here on the left is the Martz farm right here. M-A-R-T-Z. Okay, we're almost to level ground. Almost. Just around the bend at the top of the hill, there'll be a left-hand turn. The parking lot will be on your immediate right, and it's a poor excuse for a parking lot, but
Okay.
so you need to slow down,
Okay.
put on your turn signal.
To turn right?
Yep, turn left.
I'll turn left.
Right where it says Lamb's Knoll Road,
Oh,
and
got
then
it.
right into the parking lot, which already has plenty of cars in it, so it'll be interesting parking. It goes around in a circle here. That's right, yeah, that's... Oh, that! I thought it just was a strange looking maple. What do you... This?
No.
No,
That.
further in.
There.
Leaves a 3.
That.
Yeah, there's a
This,
little, there's a little.
this, that.
Yep.
Okay,
All right, let's.
so anyway, I'll just watch out if I break out. I'll know what happened. Okay, what we're talking about is Fox's Gap. And the path you're in is the old Appalachian Trail. At the time of the battle, it was called the Pig Path by John Bell Hood.
Pig path.
Pig Path. Yeah, type you herd pigs along in the south. And it runs all the way to the mountain house, about a mile north of here. This is the level part. Once you get over that ridge, it goes down between a 6-foot gully, and it's all rock. The reason this is important, all Confederates coming onto the field come along here. All of them. They're going to go up over what's now alternate 40, come over the ridge past where Dahlgren Chapel is, pick up the mouth of the Appalachian Trail, and come across here. And they're going to do it under artillery fire. As we were coming up, and you made that left-hand turn, that high ridge out there to the right will have 20-pounders on it. The only place they can shell is the mountain house, because all that woods in front of it wasn't there. That was farmland. Now, this right here, this was an open field. It's easy to see. When you run out of ground and it starts to drop, that's the edge of this triangular field. The picture taken of the gap of Wise's farm was taken from in here, looking that way. And it'll give you a good perspective of where, okay, the cabin actually was.
Where's the pig trail on there?
The pig trail here
Where we are?
is, oh, let me turn it around this way. No. I'm good with maps unless I have to read them. Actually,
approximately where we are.
Approximately right here at the mountain house, going across this way. Now they've got some interesting things in here that I'm not, they've got the Appalachian Trail here. It's close, yeah. This is the pig path.
Okay. So we're to the
We're,
we're to your left on the map. Then.
which on your left?
Your left, our right. Our
We're
right.
here.
We're here. Okay.
Mountain house is over here.
Yeah, that's Turner's Gap, where Mountain House is.
Right, the mouth of it, but the battlefield's a mile north, higher up.
Okay, so they came across from
They're coming up 40 from Boonesboro,
Yeah.
turning right. Now when this starts up here, we're going to go out in this field. There's going to be a section of artillery here, 2 guns under John Pelham, and the 5th Virginia Cavalry, all 150 of them. They're going to be here while Stuart is traipsing south to get the Harper's Ferry. He never likes missing a good party. Now, they're going to be the ones that open fire here at about 9 o'clock in the morning. The problem is that about 3/4 of a mile south of here at the Hart Farm, D.H. Hill is there with his adjutant, Ratchford, and he's talking to a local civilian who in the pre-daylight hours thinks, those dark uniforms, they gotta be Yankees. And he says, don't go up there. There's Rebs all south of here. Well, they're reconnoitering and you hear the guns fire. And the first thing they think is, my gosh, we've been flanked. And they're gonna bring up Garland's brigade from Boonesboro, all 945 men and 3 guns at a run. And they're gonna get over this path and get up here at about 9:30. So it's a rough give or take, hour or so. Time could be off just a little. The main fighting in the morning will be out there where we're going to go into the field. We're going to start here, go out there, walk out to the Confederate right, and come back on a civilized trail. This is where Drayton's brigade will be. Its left flank at 650 men. It'll occupy the first 100 yards in here, and then the rest are going to go along the farm lane over in there. Where they got the 17th Michigan marker now, that's where the Michigan boys run into them. You got to understand, Confederate regiments in this campaign are not big. The largest regiment had about 400 men in it. The smallest one will have 17. The largest brigade will have 1,400. Actually, yeah, Colquitt, down over the mountain. And the smallest will have 136.
God, like a large company. Is this
Yeah.
a result of Confederates that deserted or didn't?
Well, there's a lot to that. When Lee gets to the Potomac River at Leesburg on September the 4th and gets ready to cross, an order goes out that sick and wounded go to Winchester and men without shoes don't have to cross the river. He had about 55,000 men. The infantry were throwing their shoes into the Potomac by squads. Lee was changing the war from one of defense to one of aggression. He'll cross with about 40,000 men. His intelligence told him that in Frederick there were 35,000 loyal Marylanders.
Yeah.
And there might have been, but he should have hit Baltimore and south. He'll recruit 500 men in Frederick, all out of Baltimore. Along the road between the 4th and the 9th, he loses at least 500 men a day to desertion. They are dirty. They're the worst shape they'll ever be in until Appomattox. Large numbers of them can be smelled from a mile away. Marylanders are holding their noses and handing their shoes over to him. And he was changing the focus of the war. The reason he comes this way is McClellan is actually chasing him at a breathtaking speed of 6 miles a day. But he's got McClellan convinced he's going to move toward Baltimore or Harrisburg. And he wasn't. But it made McClellan deploy from what's now Route 355 all the way out to where 70 is now. In case Baltimore got attacked, Lee's retreating. He did not recruit loyal Marylanders because where he hit in this state, mostly pacifist and pro-Union, and he didn't get English recognition. He really never stood a chance of that. And he knows he's outnumbered. So he's retreating. This will be the longest battle of the South Mountain fight. 9:30 in the morning till 9:30, 9:45 at night. And this area here is going to be the main approach road in to any Confederate troops going into this gap. Their exit is going to be west.
Right back.
And the Yankees will say the ground sort of swallowed them up. It sort of did, because they're running at dusk and dark this way and falling over the ledges, getting lost in this mountain laurel, which Ohioans called rhododendron.
We call it poison ivy.
No. I'm talking about this junk.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Sassafras, a lot of sassafras.
Yeah. And, well, the mountain laurel is particularly bad over there. These nasty little bushes like they had in Virginia called chinkapin have a bad habit of slapping you as you go through. Of course, they slap the man behind you. So, the ground was swallowing up Rebs on the way out of here. Now up here they say there's a road that the Rebs put in coming up the mountain. They did not. It's a natural drainage. They didn't have time to construct a road up the mountainside. And it was a natural drainage, a runoff. So any questions? Because what I want to do, we're going to go around by the edge of the road, up into this field, and watch out for traffic because they aren't going to watch out for you. Okay, you're a tourist. So you want to go single file. But there was a stone wall here. And that's why, by the way, the 17th Michigan is called the Stonewall Regiment. Now that's my interpretation of how the battle's fought here. There's a different one out there that I don't agree with, but that's why we're historians. We argue over things.
Is that a nickname they gained from this battle?
Yes.
Because of the Stonewall here?
Yeah, this is their first battle. They've got 700 men.
Where's that new monument? Where did you tell me?
Up there in the field. We're good. Check it out.
Yeah. It was straight, and I'll get it for the morning part of it. Oh, go further back in the book and you're never going to find it.
Deer over there.
Okay, now this is a hand-cut map because there were no detailed maps of the field, really, that people could read. And I'm going to orient it. We'll try to. Okay, that's the road right here. We're out in this field here, right about where this gate is. Right here at this first line. They usually put fence rows on ridges because it made it easier to plow up against. So, you know, where the ground drops on the crest is where you're going to find it. This field here on the end is where those trees are now. Now, where it's different, the bottom of that hill down there where those trees are was all open field. The farm lane is right where that house is. Right down there. And then it curves with the road. And where it curves with the road, there's a modern house down on the left. All that was open. Today it's woods. Excuse me a moment. Hello. Sorry about that. I hate phones, but anyway. So all that was open around to the bend, and if you didn't notice coming up the road, the ground over there goes down like this. Now, across here, Wise's Field will end about 100 feet back just before the ground drops. On the right here, beyond the stone wall, there's a ledge right in line with the crest, and it'll go a good 500 feet that way. All that's overgrown now. Okay, Reno Monument was about where it is now. That's about where Reno got shot. If you come up here, the actual road to the farm is about where that stump is, just to the right side of it. The house would be down in the middle of the road thereabouts. And you'll see the photograph over here. Okay, in the morning, what happens? The Kanawha Division of the 9th Corps. They're out of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. They're not all pure Ohioans. Even had New Yorkers in it. So that's the neat thing. People were a lot more mobile back then than we give them credit for. And they traveled extensively by rail. They're going to come up across these fields. Out here in this field facing east will be the 13th North Carolina. They're going to be up against the wall on that far side beyond this current wall. They're going to go into the woods, and then you got about 250 feet of woods and then another open field. That's the right of their brigade. They're on their lonesome out here. They have no supports. And they're going to be attacked by a brigade that extends across this field, across their front, and down below the ridge. Now, there's only 3 artillery pieces here in the Confederate service. Alabama Battery. And they're only going to put 3 guns in, and they're going to fire 3 rounds, 1 each, when they realize they really can't get the depression in the barrels, and they're going to get beset by Union infantry. So we're on the extreme left of the Confederate line. Later in the day, the 30th North Carolina will come out to this ridge, run into Union 9th Corps coming up and retreat, and then Drayton will come on. The fighting here initially is 9:30 to noon, and then 4:30. There's going to actually be a lull in the battle. What you can't see, a mile north of here, and you can see it at the time of the battle, and you can see it in the winter, is an open hill north of Route 40, the pike. One Confederate battery up there, Lane's. He has a direct line of sight all the way down into the fields below us and across these fields. And he is going to be firing all day with accuracy on the 9th Corps out in the open fields making their approach up. Now the modern account of it will have Drayton's brigade late in the afternoon forming this way and facing down in here. They wouldn't have done that. You never put Confederate infantry, if you could avoid it, in front of their own guns at any range, particularly if they're firing case shot and shell. Had a bad, usually tended to burst a little early. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be there. Plus, if the Union Army is coming up this way, they wouldn't expose their flank to them. The modern argument is that they're down in that lane and then bending up this way, and they wouldn't have done it. This is the better ground for them. Down there, they'd have no support. Okay, so what we're going to do, going to walk out here and talk about the Wise Cabin. Then I'm going to take you on the civilized route into the Confederate right flank. We'll need your map again. And then we're going to walk over to here to show you where the line will break at noon. Okay? And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. This could actually, if you're really into it, could be an all-day tour just to this place. Because most people, they just get generic pictures. But I wouldn't want to have been up here. There's only 945 Confederates here from 9:30 in the morning until noon facing a Federal division. And they're going to hold them off, thanks to that artillery.
A mile away, you say?
Mile away. And he was dropping solid shot and shells down into a cornfield down here. He'll be doing that all day. And he's the Confederate right flank over there at Turner's Gap, with only the 12th Alabama, I think, over there helping him, which wasn't even a full regiment. And it's like, God, this is the armpit of the universe. We're stuck here.
You said it was Lane's?
Lane's Georgia Battery.
Lane's Georgia Battery.
This is federal property here. This is federal. Everything else is state. Reno was very popular with the men. He was a good officer. His brother Franklin was here with the 9th Corps. And he's going to have a very famous nephew, I believe it is, named Marcus Reno, who's going to have some bad luck out west. Now, the Corps badge is a Federal shield with an anchor and an artillery barrel on it, artillery tube. They were amphibious troops at the beginning of the war. They're going to go in at Roanoke, and they're going to go in at New Bern. Did a very good job. There's an 1880s photograph, well, woodcut of one, in Battles of the Leader of the Civil War, Volume 2, taken from over there, showing this field with the tree stumps in it that were here at the time of the battle, marking the spot where Reno got hit. So your field, it goes down to about where that tree stump is, out to this ridge is about 250 feet and about 500 feet that way, just under 3 acres. Late in the day, toward dusk, this field will be occupied by Edward Ferrero's brigade. Ferrero was a part-time dancing instructor from West Point. The men did not respect him, they did not like him, they did everything they could to irritate him so that his voice would crack when he yelled at them. They weren't very PC back then. In this field will be the 51st New York, the 21st Massachusetts, and over there, right along the line, will be the 51st Pennsylvania. And Ferrero will come up here just about dusk. He'll send out the 35th Massachusetts to find rebels in the woods over there. It's a brand new regiment. They'd only fired their weapons once down at Frederick and found out that with the muskets they had, the ammunition wasn't quite the right caliber and it tended to roll out the barrel after they fired it. None of the rounds got across the Monocacy. They actually landed in the river. They're sent out to find rebels. They've never been in battle. Reno will ride up here. It'll be just about dark. He'll see men out where we were standing over there in the field, coming over a fence and picking up weapons. They're rebels. What has happened is that Laws Brigade had just come up on the other side of the road where we were standing in the dark, right across from the 51st Pennsylvania. New York, yeah, Pennsylvania, excuse me. They're coming, the Massachusetts men are coming back, completely lost. They're on both sides of the road. Out in there, they're lighting lanterns and yelling, "Hey, Company A over here, Company B over here." They're really subtle. They're trying not to tell the rebels where they are. Reno's here on horseback with his staff. He bumps into a man from the 35th who yells, "Rebel cavalry," and fires. The bullet went up through the general's left hand, hit the hilt of his sword, and went up into his chest. His orderlies saw it, and they were told not to tell anybody, and they didn't for 20 years. But they got published in the National Tribune. He's taken out of here, put on a blanket, get carried down the mountain. A Captain Gilbert of the 17th Michigan hears him tell Orlando Wilcox, who comes over, "Wilcox, I've been shot by my own men." His biographer, and the one who published Wilcox's letters, said that Reno was mistaken. Now, I have a funny feeling that if a Confederate had walked through the veteran 51st New York to get into this field, they might have been killed. It wasn't. On the day of the battle at Burnside Bridge on the 17th, a man in the 6th New Hampshire wrote, "The fields around here aren't too well kept. Bread's expensive, butter's expensive. A Massachusetts man shot General Reno the other day, and these fields really aren't kept well." It was suppressed. They were ordered not to say a word about it. Generals can't get killed by their own men by accident, especially green men. But he was. Now, in this field in the morning is the 13th North Carolina. They're on their lonesome. They're the only Confederates in here. Maybe 350 men. And they're looking out across open fields that were out here, realizing, oh my gosh, we have a problem. The rest of their brigade is down on the right. Now, General Garland, Samuel Garland, he'll get shot behind this infantry line. His staff will take him down the mountain road where we were, all the way over to the South Mountain Inn, and neglect to tell the second in command, Colonel McRae of North Carolina, who's down there on the other side of the woods, that he's been hit. McRae will discover it at noon when there's a bayonet charge and he can't find Garland. Garland will be put in an ammunition wagon, Longstreet's ammunition train. He'll end up going down into Boonesboro. They'll take the road into Hagerstown, cut over to what is now Route 11, and in the dark, run into Yankee cavalry coming out of Harper's Ferry in the early hours of the 15th under Grimes Davis from Mississippi, who basically told his New Yorkers and Pennsylvanians as they approached a wagon train, "Shh, don't say anything." Had something to do with their accent. Grimes Davis will walk up right up to the lead wagon, tell them there's Rebs everywhere. I mean, excuse me, Yankees everywhere behind him. Wait a minute. Never ruin a good story with the truth. He'll convince the Confederate wagon driver in the dark that they're Confederate cavalry. And in the dark, he'll lead them to Greencastle, then to Chambersburg, and when it's daylight, they realize, oh, nuts, we've been captured. The Yankees will claim they captured Longstreet's ammunition train, which they did, and a Confederate general. They'll just neglect to tell everybody that he was dead, General Garland. He'll end up getting shipped down to Lexington for burial. But this is his famous last battle. And this is where he gets it. So 2 generals die from action in this field. Now, I'm going to take you over to the markers for the house and then take you down to the right flank and show you just how isolated it was. And keep in mind, the field was 500 feet that way. So it's not, you know, it's a large field, but not all that large. I have no idea why the California flag is here.
Second Massachusetts capital. Are they up here?
Second Massachusetts was felt for. Second Corps will cross over here, and they had the California regiment in it, but I don't know why. It's elusive to me. Okay, so we're going to walk down here and talk about it. That field right there where we were standing, that corner was open. That's where this picture was taken from, looking this way, off of that corner. That means that the cabin was right down in there. The fence to the road, the picket fence, was right in here. And the road is right here. You can actually see the depression for it when you walk along this one off to the left. Now, this is Wise's field as it looked then. This was taken a couple years after the battle. You can see how sparse the tree line was up along that edge. And it was right at the crest of the hill. It came back in here. There's a dog leg back in here. It doesn't always show up, but there is. This is growing along a little dog leg back in there, coming off the lane. So the corner here and here is right there. Was a post and rail fence out there, Stonewall here. And when you see the drawing in Battles and Leaders with the bodies piled up, you're looking at the 3rd South Carolina. The road shows up right here, looking from back, from about where you're standing over in there. So it's really, a lot has to be changed yet. And I'm hoping that the Civil War Preservation Trust really goes to town with it, because it'll help a lot, help an awful lot. Now we're going to walk to the Confederate right and show you the details of the field. This map is based in part, by the way, on Ezra Carman from the 13th New Jersey, whose manuscript has been published in 1 volume, privately printed, very salty. And then Tom Clemens is doing an excellent, excellent edit of this. The 1st volume is out. Now, his maps are great, but again, after it was published for the battlefield, other regimentals were published that do change the perspective and the picture a bit. It doesn't mean that he was deliberately wrong. A lot of people like to, say that. No, you can only write based on what you know. I've had people come, well, why didn't you use my grandfather's letters? Well, I didn't have them. Well, I got them. I said, fine, but who are you? I mean, you can't do that. It's not fair. And there's a lot of character assassination in the historical field that really is needless. It really is, because we can only write about what we know unless we're politicians. And I won't make any comments about administrators, because that's why I never got transferred. They have no sense of humor. I'm retired now, so they can't demote me. So what we're going to do is walk along this road. This road, by the way, is not the original road. It often shows up and people interpret it as that. The road is right here. Actually, it's right to the right of this sign going straight back. So we'll be walking along that. And you'll be able to see the slight depression. It ran along the edges of all the fields on the battlefield. Okay? I'm going to return your map.
I have.
Send me an email. I'll send you. Oh, great. You did right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great email. Send me I'll send you stuff like this all the time. I'm George.
Oh, Joe Stotler,
Hi,
nice to
Joe.
meet you. I
Nice to
hope you
meet
guys
you.
don't mind me intruding.
Nope.
I always like to, let other people's brains dry if I can.
This guy's written a book.
Well, no, it's probably until you go up and around the meet and drive in federal communication station. About a mile south of the land's knoll. Actually, people hunting both sides of this trail too. It gets really interesting sometimes. But there's the roadbed right in there. So your stone wall would have been along across from it.
At your FCC court, we can probably get into the way.
The road is right there.
Yeah, the road right through there.
Which road was that? I'm looking into it. Well, I'm going to come up with a measuring unit and walk off the front of the sea. With that garbage in it, but you know, no undergrowth. Part of it is because the people back then ate ham and pigs roamed free. If you've ever seen the Hatfields and McCoys, yeah, you didn't mess with someone else's pig. That's stealing from a poor man. Kind of like Bonnie and Clyde, where Clyde went to jail for stealing turkeys. In the backwoods of back areas of Oklahoma, you don't rob food from poor people. So anyway, where we are. Let me get the orientation to turn it. We're right about here. The farmland will be right behind me, and there's going to be a harvested cornfield right behind me, and then we're going to come up on a cornfield itself. And it'll be from here all the way up to where the monument is. There's going to be a 6-foot high stone wall up here. On the right, and Bondurant's going to talk about that when he brings his guns out, because he couldn't fire over the thing. The men remember that wall very well. It's still there. It's on private land. So we're where the next part of the brigade is. And you've got some mixed regiments here. The 23rd North Carolina will actually engage the 23rd Ohio. The 5th North Carolina, half of them were conscripts. Half of them are going to break and run under the first fire. The 12th North Carolina, about 100 men, under a newly promoted
There you go. You got him. He's on your book
private,
now.
Shugan Snow, who got promoted to captain. They held an election and he won. But it's a regiment, 100 men. They're going to be attacked again by a division of almost 3,000 men. And it's going to make a big difference. You're going to have a nasty bayonet fight out here. Nasty. So I'm going to take you down to the Confederate right, try to give you an idea of where the positions are, show you the original stone wall, still there, and show you approximate where some regiments were. And again, it's all wooded now. It wasn't back then.
Mike, could I see the book you're looking at? Could we get a
Sure.
picture of that?
Yeah, I don't mind
I just mean the
advertising.
title page and everything too.
Oh, well,
I
let me
like
turn
the
it the
map,
right
but-
direction.
Yeah. Well, let's see the title page. I want to see what book that is.
Oh, it's mine.
Good. Let's see it.
There we go. I can brag.
Before Antietam, John Michael Priest.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Let me explain where we are. This is the Confederate right flank. This will be held by the 23rd North Carolina, who is going to engage the 23rd Ohio out in this open field. That open field out there where the tree line is now, there's stone walls in there. And that's where Rutherford B. Hayes gets the shattered left forearm. When he regains consciousness and he walks down to the hospital, the field hospital basically, at the widow Kugel's house down in the valley, they're going to resect his arm. They're going to smooth off the bone on both ends and push it together. And he'll have the left arm that's 1 inch shorter than the other one. He got hit by a 69 caliber ball. He gives up cussing and drinking on this day. His last words shouldn't end up in history books, but they will. He said, come on, let's go get those sons of bitches, and that's when he got shot. His wife, Lemonade Lucy, was very pleased with his conversion, and he was quite a character. Now, this is going to be the Kanawha Division. I'm going to take you down to the left to show you the stone wall where Bondurant was. The boundary of the field, there's a partial stone wall, I think, down in there. Comes off down that way to where we turned up just past the modern road. But this is the right flank. And until 12 o'clock, well, until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, basically these are the only Confederates here. They will get pushed out at noon. The Kanawha Division will go back into the woods beyond where the modern road is, get hit with canister on the flank from out by the Wise Farm. They'll pull back to that side of the stone wall. And they're going to be there facing this way and against the stone wall on the far left, facing north, because Lane is still hitting him on the flank from a mile to a mile and a half away. So the Yankee line is going to conform with the stone wall on the other side. And then the real follow-up will occur around 4:30 when Confederates try a counterattack up over the hill through that garbage. And one brigade just keeps going south, Ripley, and the other one, G.B. Anderson, will come up through here and run into artillery in this field. And that'll end it for him. And it ends at dark. The last shots are around 9:30 or so, when the 35th Massachusetts gets rattled and shoots into the backs of the 51st Pennsylvania, who then gets hit from 10 feet away by Law's brigade because the rounds hit them. The Yankees will turn around and shoot at the 35th, and that'll stop that nonsense. And their colonel, Colonel Karras, will get wounded. Primarily because, probably by Yankee 58, but it's hard to tell. Now, I'm going to take you over here to show you the stone wall and where Bondurant was. In the woods down below, Iverson will bring up the 20th North Carolina will be down here, and they're actually going to run up Union guns out on the crest, 20-pounders, and they're going to get driven off by Confederate riflemen in the woods. But this is the longest held part of the action, and this is one of the most beautiful monuments I've ever seen. It really is great. Okay, we're going to head down here a minute, and it's not easy to
Taking video.
stand over in there, but the wall is under that tree.
You said the owner didn't know this was a battlefield.
Nope. He had no idea.
Oh, this is actually pretty accurate. Battery being Bondurant's battery being right there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, no. They've got him out on this ridge, I believe. See, they've got him according to Carmen, but they're way out too far to the right. Yeah, this is the 23rd North Carolina. Bondurant is right here where we're standing. All this is open right here. So these are modern fields out here. But this is where Bondurant was. Yeah, yeah. That was it. That wall, that bugger is still standing there. Explain what we're going to be going on, because this is all private land. None of it's marked. Okay? We're going to go out of here and make a right, and just beyond the church is a left-hand turn that goes uphill. Now today that's Dahlgreen Road. At the time of the battle it was the Frosttown Road. When you get up to and starts to level off, there'll be a big open field on the right on the top of the mountain. That's where Lane's Georgia Battery was. Just beyond that, it'll be slightly level, and there'll be a big red brick house on the right. The Confederate battle line at that spot crossed our front right at the brow of the hill, went down behind the house and along a stone wall. that's out there. That's going to be Corse's brigade. Very small brigade. They're going to get hit by a division. Hatch's division of the 1st Corps. There will be a bayonet fight in there. Colonel Strong of the 19th Virginia gets killed. And luckily, someone didn't steal his 1860 Henry that he had with him. I know a guy that owns it, and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a Henry. Probably the only one on the field. Then we're going to go downhill. And when we get to the bottom of the hill, we'll make a sharp 90. That's where the road turns to gravel. Watch it. You're going to go about 100 feet and turn another 90. When you do that, Pennsylvania reserves will be on our right. Going all the way across the valley, we're going to go around and up to the next side. And in your left, in that deep ravine and all, was a cornfield, about 1,000 yards long. There'll be 4 Alabama regiments in there. Roads. And they're not going to get engaged until about 5 o'clock when the Union troops at 4:30 come up through the valley and hit them there. We're going to be going down. Union 9 will be coming up this way, moving west. We're going to go east down to the bottom of the hill where they formed up. Make a left. There'll be a red barn at the bottom of the hill. That barn was here. That's where the Pennsylvania reserves stray round coming in off the mountain somewhere. Hit a manure pile and showered them with it. They remember that very clearly. And there'll be a little pre-war house down there. Low ceiling. A woman came running out of the 2nd floor carrying a newborn baby during the battle. Okay? Reserves form along that road. It runs south to north. We climb a hill again and make a left on the same road. The Magleton's brigade, I believe it is, Pennsylvania Reserve. They're going to form with their left on that road as we turn north again. Their line is 600 feet to the right, going down into the ravines. That was all open, all farmland. And they're going to follow the contour of the road. We're just basically going to make a U. But you have 2 separate battles there. You got one at the top of the hill. Then as we go down, you got one from, well, we'll be moving east all the way across a 1,000-yard ravine up to the top of the next hill where there's 1 regiment. That's the 6th Alabama. And they'll be holding off that Pennsylvania Reserve Brigade for a while. The foundations of the old stone house are there. The farmland is still there, but we can't stop because, again, it's private property. But the widow Main lived there. They described her as a portly, white-haired woman with a bunch of tow-headed children. And she had an indoor pump. And she stood in the doorway with the 6th Alabama in her farm lane. You Rebs ain't coming in here. You're not getting my water. You're not. And John Brown Gordon was right along telling, Madam, we're not going to harm you. You ain't coming in here, you rebels. And the men heard it and they yelled, tell it, Granny, go get them. And Gordon just shut up. But that's what they're going to get driven out of that position across our front into the ravine and up the next side. That ravine is about a 45-foot drop for about 150 feet. Straight up the other side. So it's not marked, but I'm giving you. Okay. Okay, can you all hear? This field on the right is where Lane's Georgia Battery was. And Fox's Gap is a mile due to your right, across the ravine. Okay, we're going to be moving a bit further on. This is the right flank of the Confederate line, this battery. Okay. Our communication is bad up here because of the cell phone operation in the area. On the right, you'll see a big house. Okay, can you hear okay? There's a stone wall in the woods behind that house. It comes to a point to the left of the house, and it'll cross our front. This is an original stone wall on your left. Your Confederate line crosses our front and goes to behind the house. That's it. And they're going to get hit by an entire division of the 1st Corps, Hatch's division, at around 5:30. All this was open field on both sides. Okay, we're starting down into a low area. And we're now in front of the Confederate line. It's behind us. Correct. That's me talking. All this ground was open. No trees on our right or our left. This was working farm field. Okay, this is a two-way road, allegedly. So please be careful. Oh, he's going to pull into that drive. Thank goodness. A lot of the locals aren't that polite. The house on the right was here. That's the rent farm. Now all this is downhill from here. This road is no fun in the winter. Okay, when we make this left, we will be between the Pennsylvania Reserves, who will be on our right, and part of Rhodes Alabama Brigade. This hollow on the left was a cornfield. All this was working farmland. No woods in here. Yeah, the guys that farmed this couldn't walk right on level ground. People that are building up here are actually restoring this land to the pre-war condition, complete with snakes and rocks. Yeah, one heck of a ravine. We're now turning to the right and heading east. The Pennsylvania Reserve line would be in front of us, facing us. Going to the right, up over the ridge 600 feet, into the ravine to our left and up the other side. And this is where they'll run into Confederates, right up here. The hardest part of the battle, the Pennsylvanians said, was getting to the rebels. If you look to the left, you'll see what the field looked like all the way up to the next side. Most of the houses are original houses here. This is Frosttown. If it looks like it's dead, yes. The house is original. put gravel on this road. You're also going to see down here on the left a stand of bamboo. How it got here, I don't know. But it's not native to this area. All this was open field on both sides. Watch out for the drainage across the road. It's really rough on cars. Now, the road on our right by the mailbox was here. That's the left end of the Pennsylvania Reserve line for about 600 feet along that road. We're going to turn left.
Is this the barn that was here?
The barn
with the shell?
was here and the house.
And this is where the shell hit?
Yep. We're going to go left. These are original structures. And I believe it's a tenant farmer in here. Now, this road was here. The reserves form on in this road bed and move to your left. And the biggest problem was getting to the rebels. The 12th Alabama had 40 men down here facing a division. They lit out. They didn't hang around. They were in the valley to our left. That was it. Now, we're going to be making a sharp left on this road. And this road was here. It'd be open fields on both sides. Look at the view to your right. Okay. The right of the Pennsylvania Reserves is 1 brigade. I think it was Seymour's. They're going to form to our right, 600 feet, with their left flank on this road. All of this was open field on both sides. It was not wooded. And they're basically up here looking for rebels. And you're seeing what they would have seen. I make a pretty good accountant, actually.
Go ahead.
Okay, we were just at Turner's Gap. From the top of the hill where it started going down, that was held by Garnett's brigade and by Kemper, a total of 800 men. They're going to lose at about 4:45. Well, actually, maybe 5:30. Around 260 men. Now that's 800 men facing a Union division. Hatch's division had about 2,000 men or more. And they're the ones that get in the bayonet fight behind where that big expensive house is. Now, as far as when we went down and made the sharp turn to head west, and that where it turned to gravel.
There was that yellow house and then the red
Yeah.
barn. And the red barn is where the artillery shell came in and struck the manure pile. And what regiment was that?
That's going to be one of the Seymour's brigade, I believe.
Got covered.
That's Meade's division. They had 3,247 men. They're going to lose almost 300 in about 45 minutes or less. They're taking on Let me see if I can get it right here. Ah. They're taking on Rhodes, who has 1,200. He'll lose 422. So when they do hit him, it's really severe, but it's quick. Now, down at Fox's Gap, Anderson, Garland have 945 men, and he's going to square off against a division of 3,600, and he'll hold that until noon when he gets overrun. Then at 4:30, Sturgis will come on the field in Rodman and the rest of the Kanawha division, and you're looking at about 8,000 men. They're going to take on Anderson, 1,200. Anderson. And let's see, Drayton, 650. Roughly about 2,000 Confederates. And then at Crampton's is a different story. You basically take the 12,000 men of the 6th Corps and you put them against, let's see, Cobb's Brigade of 1,300 and Parham's Brigade of 322. And again, the fighting at all 3 gaps in the afternoon, only about 45 minutes. The biggest problem, as you could see, was getting up the ground.
Yep.
The reserve, one guy in the reserve said that it made the hills in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, look level. Something to that effect. He said he'd never seen such bad ground since he left home. And that's from a coal miner.
Yep.
Which is why they go underground.
Right.
But still.
So Garland was wounded at Fox's Gap and taken to
the Mountain House,
which is
he's
where
dead
we
by the
were.
time he gets there. He bleeds to death on the front porch. Taken in an ambulance in the town, all the way into Hagerstown, gets captured, ends up in Chambersburg. And then in Lexington, I don't think it was in good shape by the time he got to Lexington.
But didn't they burn the ammunition? I mean, not his body, but didn't they capture and burn most of the ammunition wagons once they got up to?
I don't know what happened to him after they got there, but Toombs is going to be chasing him with 3 of his regiments and never catch him because they weren't there. But yeah, it's one of the big rip-offs. So when the Rebs get to Antietam, they're missing a whole entire Corps supply train, which puts them at a bit of a disadvantage. So
At Hagerstown, there's a marker right where the captured.
Yeah,
is, right
over
at
on
the railroad
Route
tracks
11.
there. Yeah.
And this is all because Grimes Davis refused to surrender.
he broke out of Harper's Ferry. I can't imagine riding across a railroad bridge on horseback.
Oh my God.
I can't picture walking across
That's what they did?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They walked
like
across.
A 3-foot wide trail next to the mountain.
Yeah.
But they went across a railroad bridge?
Yep. The horses were better sure-footed, but
Holy
I wouldn't even want to do that sober or otherwise. I wouldn't want to do it, but not at night.
Yeah. Should we say thank you?
Yes.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you asking me out.
I hope you had a good time with us.
Yeah, lunch was great. Really